All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. We have a very short agenda today. Each of our speakers have 2 minutes, and they will be, I'll try and keep them under control. That's my job. So let me just say a couple words at the beginning. So I'd like to acknowledge some of the guests that are sitting in the audience. So we have the Mayor of Batavia, Jeff Schelke, the Aurora Mayor, Dale Berman, Warrenville Mayor, Millbrook Mayor, Oswego Mayor, Yorkville Mayor. Thank you very much for coming. They're part of our Community Advisory Board, so they're used to Fermilab. State Representatives Karina Villa and Stephanie Kofowit, thank you very much for coming. And I'd also like to recognize Connie Arvis from the Department of State in the front row here, and Cole Donovan, our partner. I'd like to recognize Paul Kearns, the director of Argonne, our sister laboratory, and Juan De Pablo, vice president of National Laboratories at the University of Chicago. And welcome to the rest of you. So I spent a few seconds wondering why so many people wanted to come. And I think it's related somehow to the surreal nature of particle physics. So this is the field that asks the questions that we all kind of ask and think about when we're kids. We're interested in the structure of space-time. We're interested in quarks and leptons, the fundamental building blocks of nature. But we're also interested in the origin of the universe. Why does the universe exist at all? And so that set of questions is what the people in this laboratory do every day. It's their job. It's a pretty good job, I would say. That's everybody's happy at Fermilab. So this is the place that discovered the top quark, the heaviest known fundamental particle in the universe, discovered the bottom quark, and it discovered the tau neutrino. And what you're going to hear about today is the PIP-II project, which is a very modern accelerator, purpose of which is to generate the most intense beams of neutrinos on the planet. And we're going to send them from Chicago to South Dakota. That's the ultimate goal here. So why the neutrino? Well, it may be the first particle that is its own antiparticle. We're not going to get into the details of that. It's lighter by about a factor of 1 trillion than the top quark. Another question we don't understand. Why is it so light? We think it might even be a different type of mass than anything that's been seen before. So the discovery of the Higgs boson a few years ago, we hear it as the particle that causes other particles to have mass. We think the neutrino is different. So the neutrino is the most ubiquitous particle in the universe. There's more of them than anything else, and we probably know the least about it. So that's why we want to study it. That's why we want to make a lot of those. So that's why you're here, if you didn't know. And so I'm going to start by saying I'd like to introduce President Zimmer from the University of Chicago. President Zimmer is 13th president of the university. I'm not going to go into the details. You know who he is. So President Zimmer, please go ahead.
I do want to add my welcome to everyone to that of Nigel's, and I want to express my particular appreciation for being here today to our governor and congressional delegation, to the Department of Energy Undersecretary of Science and other leaders from the Department of Energy, our international guests from the Consul Corps, and colleagues from Fermilab. I do want to recognize Martha Sahelski, who's the Executive Director of University Research Association, who's the University of Chicago's partner in operating Fermilab. This today, right here, is a very important moment for science in the United States. As you know, Fermilab is the leading high-energy physics laboratory in the United States, and it is a leader for the largest scale experimental high-energy physics experiments in this country. As Nigel indicated, high-energy physics aims to understand the fundamental composition of the universe and what that means for the beginning and evolution of the universe. The technologies that this field has developed in this exploration have been critical for technological advances in computation, in medicine, in sensoring, in materials, among many other fields. Today marks the beginning of the laboratory's next chapter. What we anticipate will yield decades of new discoveries as well as dramatic technological advances. It reflects a remarkable and ambitious scientific vision that has been endorsed and supported by the global physics community, and that is truly international in nature, reflected here today by our guest Consuls General, and is also a new phase in the global collaborative efforts of the Department of Energy National Laboratories. Fermilab is, of course, named for Enrico Fermi, an Italian physicist who emigrated to the United States and spent many of his most productive years at the University of Chicago. It was Fermi's work at the University of Chicago on the Manhattan Project, combined with the work of other key physicists such as J. Robert Oppenheimer, Ernest Lawrence, and Robert Wilson, that led after the war to the creation of the National Laboratory System, of which Fermilab is a part. The University of Chicago remains deeply committed to this work, not only through our role in operating 2 national labs for the Department of Energy, Fermilab and Argonne, but through the profound scientific collaborations of our scientists and those at Fermilab. In conclusion, let me just say what we are seeing here today is a sequence of remarkable partnerships amongst the federal government, both the executive and legislative branches, the state of Illinois, national governments from around the world, and scientists not only from Fermilab and the University of Chicago, but indeed from around the world. The importance of these relationships to achieving great large-scale science cannot be overestimated. So thank you to all of you, not only for being here today, but for your essential contributions to advancing fundamental science and the knowledge and technological advance for the betterment of all people that it brings. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, President Zimmer. Our next speaker is Undersecretary Dabbar, and I'll just say that he was on a submarine. That's his background. He's a Navy Academy graduate and was deployed in the North Pole, and his goal is to get to the South Pole.
Well, Nigel, thank you, and thank you for your leadership of the world's leading high-energy particle physics laboratory in the world. Thank you, President Zimmer and Marta, for your leadership here at the lab. I think one of the things that we've been trying to do is really just try to communicate that the leader in so many different types of technologies and so many different types of research are right here in Chicagoland. And I think just trying to communicate, letting the community know that the leader in technology of around the world on so many different aspects, which I'll comment to, is right here, right? And what more can we do with that in terms of discovery science and technologies? I'd like to thank the governor for all the support that the state has for the national labs and the region around. Very importantly, Senator Duckworth and Durbin, who have been leaders in funding of science around the country, and in particular the national labs here. And obviously the other members, Underwood, Kelly, Casten, and Fermilab's own Bill Foster, who I just learned that his cell phone number is still up on a board for emergencies, so he can come in, and I just figured that out. I guess that's good. And obviously Consul Generals for all international partners. This is the premier example of international collaboration here in the United States, of what I call inbound support and technology from around the world. The high energy particle physics community, I think, is the greatest example of international collaboration around the world. Obviously, we support CERN, and many people inbound support, and the leadership here of the National Lab on that, as well as the State Department, I think is incredibly important and a great symbol and beacon for the United States for international collaboration. So thank you for that. The National Lab Complex has 60,000 researchers around the country at 17 national labs, from Berkeley to Stanford to Brookhaven. It's the largest R&D operation in the world. And the complex leads the world in people who've worked there for people who get Nobel Prizes. 40% of all the Nobel Prizes in the world are given to people who work in physics that worked in our National Lab Complex, and 25% of all the Nobel Prizes in the world in chemistry. had people who worked in the National Lab Complex. This is really important, and I want everyone to kind of hear about the impact from discovery science of what we've done. Fermilab is the leader in high energy particle physics, understanding from a discovery science point of view about where the universe came from. How does it work? And this particular upgrade will allow for decades of driving science around that in conjunction with our international partners. We're very excited about the opportunity for discovery around that. In addition to that, the department and the lab complex and President Zimmer and I have been talking a lot about this, along with Secretary Perry, about the impact of what the national lab here at Argonne and at Fermi can make even more for Chicagoland and for Illinois. There's some amazing technologies that are being spun off as a part of discovery science, and there's a great interaction between the investments that we do in accelerators and cavities that make an impact on accelerators to make medical isotopes to save people's lives. And I think the one most important thing, which is truly exciting, every time I show up here, they've moved the ball forward just in a period of a month or two, no joke, is around quantum technologies. I'd like to thank the members who voted for the National Quantum Bill this last year. And the leader in quantum technologies, which is spinning out from the technologies that Nigel and team here are making around the discovery science, have applications in which the leaders in the world in quantum technologies are here in Chicagoland. They're not in Silicon Valley, right? They're not someplace overseas. They're here. And the prospects, I think, for Chicago amongst that and energy storage and batteries and chemistry at Argonne can make a real impact, and it's a big focus of ours of wanting to try to help the state in Chicago and how we can take some of the content which is funded on behalf of the nation here by Congress and how we can get more out of it. So thank you for everyone for being here. This is an exciting time for discovery science, and Fermi.
Thanks, Paul. Now I'd like to introduce the Governor of Illinois, Governor Pritzker. Thank you. I never announced at the beginning that each speaker has 2 minutes.
You mean now that the first politician has gotten up, that's when you want to announce that. Well, Nigel, thank you very much. Thanks so much to President Zimmer, to all of our federal officials who are here, who've done such a terrific job in making this a reality. Nigel, I just want to say that I spend all my time trying to attract people and resources and businesses to the state of Illinois, and you're about to send a whole bunch of particles to South Dakota from here. I brought my own South Dakotan here. My wife, the First Lady of Illinois, is from South Dakota, so we've added one to our population anyway. And one really good one. Thank you to everybody for coming out today for something that's so incredibly important for the state of Illinois. We have tremendous resources that have been brought to bear for this opening and for Fermilab more broadly and for Argonne. We have some of the greatest research facilities in the world, and maybe more importantly, the greatest people, the greatest scientists, the greatest ability to explore discovery science. And it's very important that we continue that endeavor, and the state of Illinois will be a partner in that endeavor in making sure that we're the best place in the country and in the world for investing in those discovery science projects. Now, I want to say that because of these laboratories, because of the University of Chicago and our universities, we have attracted the greatest talent that you can. It's one of the reasons that Illinois is a great state for businesses and others to move here, and I'm grateful for that. I also want to say that the kind of economic impact that Fermilab, that PIP-II has here in Illinois is extraordinarily meaningful. Fermilab already has injected over $1 billion into our economy. This will grow that, and I intend to make it my mission to continue to make this a focus of federal resources because of our talent. You're going to want to come here and bring your resources and people from all around the world to the state of Illinois. Last thing I want to say is to all of you who work here at Fermilab and at our national laboratories, thank you. Thank you for the work that you do for the nation. We are, the greatest nation on the face of the earth because we are a leader in so many fields, and it is in part because of our national laboratories that we're able to proclaim that everywhere we go, and especially that Illinois is a center of that. So thank you, and thanks for inviting all of us here.
All right, so I'd now like to introduce Senator Durbin.
Thank you, Nigel. It's an honor to be here today, and I'd like to start my 1 minute and 59 seconds remaining on a somber note. This morning we were awakened to the news of the Muslim massacres in New Zealand, and the person responsible chronicled his bloody journey and his reasons in social media, how much he hated the Muslim people and how much he hated immigrants. It's a reminder to all of us to reject the politics of fear and hate, to be accepting in the United States and around the world of people who come to make a difference. And I hope that we remember that as we gather this international gathering here in Illinois today. Because you see, when we look back in history, as President Zimmer said, it was the work of an Italian immigrant named Enrico Fermi, who went to the University of Chicago in November of 1942, created a nuclear reaction which went on for 40 minutes and generated 1/2 watt of electricity. 25 years later, the United States of America decided to take another step forward into the world of discovery and to create an atomic accelerator. There was a national competition about where it would be located. And Governor, we opened the first Illinois state office in Washington, D.C. to make sure that Illinois made its bid for what we called the Weston Atomic Accelerator. We assembled a very talented team. They asked if they could find a political science student in Washington, D.C. who would serve as a messenger delivering documents on Capitol Hill for critical decision making, and I was part of that team. Today is the first time. I've always had an abundance of humility. Today is the first time I publicly announced my critical personal role in the establishment of the Fermi Atomic Accelerator. And we won the competition. And it was a leap of faith to think that this hole in the ground, this big circular racetrack, would ultimately help us in the world of science and discovery. And it turns out it did continues to, for almost half a century. Today, we are embarking on another leap of faith, that something that most people don't even understand can have value in terms of improving life on Earth. I'm glad that Illinois and I'm glad that our country is part of that journey. Thank you.
So now I'd like to introduce Senator Duckworth and try and beat creating Fermilab in your presentation.
I hate following Dick Durbin for speeches. It's just awful. I can't beat creating Fermilab, but when I used to fly out of Midway Airport, I commanded the Black Hawk unit. And if we started to get lost, this was a great building to figure out where we were. So that's my connection to Fermilab. But this is a landmark facility, and the reason that this is a landmark facility is exactly what everybody has been saying so far, is the fact that this is a uniting place where we bring people, scientists from all around the world, to come here to answer the universal questions of humanity. Where did the universe come from? How many dimensions to space are there? And all of these things, for me in college, were very nebulous and I didn't understand, which is why I became a political science major. But they do have a real effect. You know, we talk about the next generation. I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 10-month-old daughter. I think about how are we going to solve the problems with environmental climate change? Well, things like batteries with better storage power, things like how do we better use the resources around us and yet continue to solve the problems. Those are being answered here. The questions you ask here will affect the ability for us to have better environments in the future for the next generations, and I thank you for that. And so let me just say congratulations on all this. I will always vote to bring more money here in order to further the science that's being done here. And hopefully in a different dimension of space-time, I'm about 20 pounds lighter. But that's all I've got. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thanks, Senator. Now we have Congressman Foster, not too familiar to most of us, so I'd like to remind you 2 minutes, sir.
All right. So I'm Congressman Bill Foster, Fermilab ID badge number 6562. That's a number that you remember for all your life, sort of like your
Here's
first.
your present for today.
Oh, right. No. This has my visitor. I am not a visitor. I want 6562, my original number. But it's a number that you remember, sort of like your first girlfriend's telephone number. It stays with you forever. And I was here for 23 years, and for all of those years, you'd look out at the flags out there, the flags of every country that are doing experiments at Fermilab. And this lab was born in the middle of the Cold War, and the first experiment that was done had Russians on it. All right, and so it was a symbol of the fact that even when politicians and sometimes even the general population have a hard time getting together, you actually find the scientists can get together. And that really, from its very start, that's what Fermilab has been a part. And this is groundbreaking that we're here today signifies two things. The first thing is that the limit on the number of the speed at which we can do physics for decades has been limited by the number of protons that we can accelerate. Protons on target, it's called. And the bottleneck in that is something called space charge at booster injection. And you fix that by building a bigger injection linear. Now, Fermilab did that once about 25 years ago. It was a tremendous success and brought up the intensity of the beams. We're doing it again out on the other side of the groundbreaking there, and we're going to see a tremendous step forward. And the other step forward is this, for the first time, will be one where there's an international collaboration coming to build the accelerators at Fermilab. For all the years I was here, Fermilab would build the accelerators, and scientists would come from all over the world to do the experiments. Now they're not only doing the experiments, they're building accelerator parts and bringing them here to make this lab the greatest neutrino lab in the world today. So I want to congratulate all of my old friends from physics, my new friends from politics, and thank you all.
All right, you're sitting out of order. Okay, so we'll go with Congressman Robin Kelly next.
Good morning, and it's truly an honor to be here. Tammy had to follow Dick Durbin, and I had to follow Bill Foster, Mr. Scientist himself, which he always reminds us of. But I'm glad you're here, so when we go back to D.C., you can really explain all of this to us. And Senator Durbin, I went up and down these roads. I have my PhD in political science, so you made me proud now that we really did play a role in this Fermilab. But congratulations to all of you. Congratulations to all of the scientists. A lot of what needs to be said has to be said about all of your great work. But what makes me feel really proud is that you're in Illinois doing this great work. A farm team came to DC yesterday and said, what are things that we can be proud of in Illinois? And this is certainly one of the things that we can definitely boast about, beside the great people that we have working here and working across the state of Illinois. So thank you for everything you're doing. And lastly, but not lastly, thank you for bringing the world together. We need more of this. Thank you.
Cool. And next we have our local Congresswoman, Lauren Underwood. Lauren?
Hi. Thank you, Nigel. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our beautiful 14th District. I am so proud to represent Fermilab in the United States Congress, and across our region here in Northern Illinois, we are so proud of the work of discovery, of innovation, and of advancing science that happens here each and every day. My first visit to Fermi was during the 50th anniversary celebration. And it was remarkable because we had children of all ages, families here, and it wasn't their first time. The kids were dragging their parents to see their favorite part here on campus. And the celebration of the work is one that we can share to future generations, share to our partners around the world, and really be proud of what we're doing collaboratively to advance the agenda more broadly. I recognize that this PIP-II accelerator represents years of hard work, and we are here today as the first step towards untold discovery and promise, really, as we can find the next horizon and rush towards it, because we know that our work in academia, our work in manufacturing, our work in industry, and yes, our work on healthcare depends on this discovery and research that happens on this campus every day. So thank you all for being here. We certainly look forward to advancing a pro-science agenda in the Congress, and I'm looking forward to leading that effort. Thank you.
Congressman Sean Casten. Sean?
So thank you so much for having us out here, and I got to tell you, thank you for the tour at the start of the day. This is like kid in a candy store, the kind of stuff you guys are doing here. It is really cool. It is fascinating, cutting edge. Cutting edge doesn't even begin to describe. I do have one prediction I want to make for your research. We were in this room where they're showing how you guys have the ability to actually ask the question of how big does an object have to get before it no longer has quantum effects, and I'm going to predict the answer. It's the size of a cat. You all know that already. So congratulations on what you've done. The Governor Pritzker, you mentioned that there's been $1 billion of economic activity that's come. I think we ought to set a goal to at least double the opportunity going forward, because there are so many opportunities here, so much knowledge, so much potential for spin-off. There's such an institutional base between here and Oregon, the other financial abilities in Chicago, and let's set a challenge to ourselves to really spin this off and turn a lot of this basic science into growth for the Chicago area. But let's also not lose sight of the fact that just research for research's sake is really cool. And it's worth embracing that even if it doesn't have economic opportunities. So thank you. Look forward to working with you and many more tours. And the one, I understand only about 2% of what I learned today. But the most impressive thing is you really made me want to travel to South Dakota and go down in a hole. So we're going to make sure that happens. Thank you.
So I just want to say they did follow instructions. That was pretty good. All right, we're going to start with Mike Weis, our Fermilab site manager.
Thank you, Nigel. I'll reiterate the thank you to all our international partners and all the collaborators here. I want you to visualize that on the other side of the berm here, in a few short years, we're going to have a new heart for Fermilab. That's really what we're talking about here. In the accelerator world, we need a new accelerator, a new heart for this really to continue for the next 50 years. In order to do that, I want to thank the main people that have put us here, the PIP-II project team, all the project teams here, all the scientists, all the engineers, all the technicians, all the people that sweep the parking lots, all the people that clean up the cafeteria, all the people that are doing contracts, all the people that are doing the global services work, the budget people, the contracts, all the people that work here at Fermilab every day that come in that can see what we're going to see in a few short years, that you're here to celebrate and project forward. I'd like to thank the Fermi site office who comes in here every day, and it's not always the simplest and easiest thing to be a federal employee in this environment of great scientists and talk about how our role is important, but I want to thank them for coming in every day. I also want to thank and recognize and have you guys send good vibes towards the workforce that's going to be here to help us build that great structure, the iron workers, the electricians, the masonists, the machinists, and all the trades. We really need them to deliver that facility safely and put it in place so that we can all celebrate in a few years by walking through that facility when it's completed. So I want you to think and visualize as you're sitting out there for the picture in this beautiful sunny day, how it's going to be in a few years when there's a nice shiny building next door. So thank you very much for coming, and thanks for celebrating this great new heart. And also I'll add, please send your students, because they're the ones that are going to win that next Nobel Prize that was talked about here. And we'll put it in the trophy case upstairs. So thank you very much.
Yeah, 2 minutes, Jim. Jim Siegrist, Associate Director of High Energy Physics.
So, I'm really pleased to be here today to have an opportunity to thank everybody. First, I want to thank all the dignitaries for coming, and you too, Bill. And first, I want to thank the Fermilab staff who've done a lot of hard work to get us to the point we can take the next step, and also the lab management even. I want to especially point that out. When Steve Holmes retired, Nigel recruited Leah Merminga in to come lead the project, which was a brilliant maneuver by the management here, so we're pleased about that. So it's A to Z on the staff. It's a team effort and everybody's working on it. Next, I want to thank all of our international collaborators, without whose help this would be much more difficult. As was mentioned, this is the first large accelerator project in the U.S. with extensive international contributions, so this is a good thing. Second, I want to thank the Secretary and the Undersecretary and all the DOE administrative people who support the project. As I'll just tell one anecdote there, you know, the high energy physics, through our work at CERN mostly, has a certain way of operating on the international scene. And that way of operating isn't necessarily well matched into how DOE operates. But that bureaucracy is willing to be flexible in ways that surprise us to death. The team of lawyers that came out here to look at the project, help us move all the paperwork ahead so that we can bring the international contributions into the project. So that's an important thing. So the depth of support in the department is very deep. People understand that DOE is there to build things and get excited about this project, and even the lawyers can get excited, so this is a good thing. Next, I want to thank all of our congressional supporters, without whose support, of course, we wouldn't have any money to do any of this. And the congressional support for science has been very strong. We heard that this morning already, and that's what makes this possible. Next, I want to thank the State Department, who we bring you new challenges on a kind of daily basis. But State has been very active in helping us get all the agreements in place and the rest of that. So that's very important. Next, I want to thank the people of South Dakota for letting us use their mine. I think this project, of course, wouldn't be possible without that. And the people of South Dakota have been very generous and have given us warm welcomes there. I don't mention Illinois because we're just built into Illinois. So it's really South Dakota where we're the newcomers, so we have to work our way there. Then I want to thank the entire U.S. high energy physics community for its ongoing support of the plans for the community at which this project is at the heart of those plans. And finally, I want to thank the contractors in South Dakota, KAJV, who are going to help us dig the hole, which will provide the place to put the target that all this beam from PIP-II is going to be aimed at. So thanks very much. Thanks everybody for coming.
All right, so we're going to hear from our international partners now. So we're going to start with India, the Consul General of India, Bhushan. Thank you.
Honorable Governor, Senators, Congressmen, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. It is a great pleasure and honor for me to be present here today to participate in this groundbreaking ceremony. India and the United States have a very close and strong partnership in a large number of areas, and especially in energy, science, and technology. India is very happy and privileged to partner with Fermilab in this PIP-II accelerator program. Given our extensive high-tech manufacturing experience, a number of Indian institutions will provide a significant number of technical components for PIP-II accelerator project. These will be built in India and then transported to the United States for installation. At the same time, India's participation will also provide us with technical insight and know-how for the development of our very own domestic accelerator program and future projects such as the Indian Spallation Neutron Source Initiative. The PIP-II accelerator is a large science infrastructure that will have great benefits for science, for technology, advancement for accelerators and beyond, as well as have impacts on advanced technical training and society. It is a wonderful project, and once again, India is extremely pleased to be a major partner for this project. Thank you.
I just have to say that I'm from Canada and I'm freezing, and you've got short sleeves on, so I'm very impressed. Okay, now the Consul General from the UK.
So thanks very much from me too to Director Lockyer and President Zimmer and then everybody else who's contributed today. I guess as the son of a physicist, I'm particularly struck, and it's particularly meaningful to me to be here today celebrating as we are a kind of opening of new horizons for humanity's understanding of the universe. And it's also particularly striking how much this embodies the spirit of international cooperation in science. I should say, we as the UK are extremely proud to stand beside our US and international colleagues in this journey of discovery. Bilaterally, I think this is part of a very rich and deep science collaboration that the UK also has, kind of embodying the Churchillian sense of a special relationship. And the contribution we're making to LBNF and June, a third of which is going here to PIP-II, will obviously result in 3 accelerator cryo-modules, which will clearly help the study of neutrinos here, but it will also help us develop our own industrial infrastructure and skills. I guess, above all, today is about celebrating that shared human curiosity. And as the director mentioned, curiosity about things as small as a neutrino or as huge as the universe. And I think it behoves me to say that as long as that curiosity continues and remains part of human nature, the UK will remain committed to advancing a study of human knowledge. So thanks very much. For those of you who are wondering, we'll be fine after Brexit.
All right, so next we have Consul General from Italy, Giuseppe Ginocchiaro. And I forgot to say that it's Enrico Fermi that gave the name to the neutrino. It means little neutral one. So there's your other Italian takeaway for the day.
Good morning, Director and dignitaries. Italy has been a proud partner of the Fermilab physics programs for almost 40 years. We have actively participated with hundreds of researchers, students, technicians, and high technology industries, contributing to important discoveries which led to a better understanding of the universe. Today, we continue that time-honored tradition and provide an important contribution to the neutrino physics program that this national lab, dedicated to the memory of an illustrious Italian man, Enrico Fermi, will lead for the next decades, relaunching US research in high-energy physics. In 2015, our countries signed an important framework agreement on physics in Washington with project annexes related to Fermilab activities. And just recently, in 2018, 2 technical agreements were signed at the Italian Embassy in Washington. One regarding the use at Fermilab of the Icarus experimental apparatus, once operated by the team led by Professor Carlo Rubbia in the Gran Sasso laboratories in Italy, and the second one regarding the Italian Institute of Nuclear Physics provision of technical components for PIP-II, including accelerating cavities. Italy replied promptly and eagerly to Fermilab's request of collaboration in developing the best superconducting radio frequency cavities for PIP-II, which will allow the Fermilab accelerator to create the most intense neutrinos beam in the world. scientific cooperation between Italy and the US has long been a key driver in shaping the unique relationship between our countries. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Consul General of France, Guillaume Lacroix.
Thank you very much. We believe in science. We believe the scientists most of the time. We believe in progress, and we believe in international cooperation. So my country, France, takes pride in having been a partner with Fermilab since decades, since the beginning actually. France is also a country of science. We're not only a country of wine and cheese. There is no contradiction between the two. And we look forward to further cooperation. Personally, I look forward to driving all the way to South Dakota. And thank you very much, Governor. It's a privilege to serve in the great state of Illinois, or the state of Illinois. Thank you.
Now, we also have the Consul General of Poland here, Piotr Janicki. And Peter is, Poland is almost a partner, so we're happy to have you here. So you better close the deal later.
I hope we will. I hope we will. I really do. Thank you for inviting me ahead of time here. My job is double as challenging for all of you. You had to deliver a speech about physics. I have to deliver it also about physics, but also in the foreign language, which makes it double as hard. Years ago, at the very beginning of this country, Poland sent two generals to the United States, General Pulaski and General Kościuszko, to help with the effort during the Revolutionary War. Sorry, John. Years later, America sent us two generals, General Electric and General Motors. This time we are sending you very skilled professionals, physicists, Grzegorz Deptuch and Maciej Chorowski. Very hard to pronounce last names, but we're sending more scientists here. I wonder what will you send us this time? Well, in December of 2011, Poland took another step towards reducing its dependency on Russian energy supplies by signing a 20-year agreement with San Diego-based Sempra Energy to import U.S. liquefied natural gas. The signing marks the third long-term contract the state-controlled Polish oil and gas company has inked with American LNG company last year alone. In the coming years, we plan to replace Russian gas with pipeline supplies from Norway and shipments of LNG by sea. Poland is preparing for a major shift in its energy imports after 2022, when contract with Russia's Gazprom expires. That plan also includes boosting imports from top LNG exporters. Collaboration between the United States and Poland on PIP-II will benefit both scientific communities, particularly for clean energy industries, and for partnership between academia and industry to develop transformative technologies. That is opening an opportunity for United States and Polish energy industry as well. In effect, cryogenics is essential for operating superconducting accelerators, as well as for the transfer of and distribution of liquefied natural gas. Institutions from Poland have expressed a strong interest in contributing to PIP-II, building upon the country's expertise in cryogenics and next-generation superconducting accelerator technologies. Poland is stepping up and answering the call on energy security for Europe. Thank you.
Now the Federal Project Director for PIP-II, Adam Bihary.
So I want to thank everyone for coming out today to join us as we celebrate what is a very important step in building for the future of Fermilab. So we have a very long way to go. Obviously, this is a start of a long project, but I feel very confident on going forward because PIP-II is really built on a strong foundation that gives us steady footing to move ahead. And what I mean by that is PIP-II, its stakeholders and supporters, we are aligned on a common science mission. And there's a lot of people to thank for that. The physics community themselves helped define that mission for us. They affirmed the necessity of the PIP-II project. We've seen amazing support from Congress for our program, as well as for the goals that P5 laid out for us. We've engaged amazing international partners who share common interests with us, not only in the technology behind PIP-II, but as well as the science. And what I mean by that is our deep underground neutrino experiment. I want to really show some appreciation to folks at this laboratory, physicists, engineers, technicians, everyone who over several years put hard work into planning, designing, R&D for this project, and then adjusting and readjusting and refining and re-refining, always keeping PIP-II aligned with what the needs of the science are. We have a dedicated team of civil servants in the Fermi site office who I'm very proud to work with. And I'm glad to say that we are preparing for the challenges ahead with the support of our management in the Office of Science. And lastly, I want to just recognize that we continue to see advocacy and engagement for this project at every single level of the Department of Energy, as well as other branches of the government. We really appreciate that. So our team at the site office is excited to continue working with the HEP program, Leah, and the lab, to help deliver on a machine that's going to have truly unique set of capabilities that's going to position Fermilab to continue being a world leader in particle physics for decades to come. So thank you all for joining us.
And now the project director herself, Leah Merminga. Leah.
Thank you, Nigel. Distinguished guests, dear colleagues. On behalf of the extended PIP-II team, I would like to thank you for sharing this moment with us and for helping us realize our dream to build a state-of-the-art accelerator that will power the US particle physics for many decades to come. PIP-II ushers in a new era for Fermilab and beyond. For particle physics, PIP-II will enable fundamental discoveries that could change our understanding of the universe. And for accelerator technology, PIP-II will be the first major superconducting RF accelerator at Fermilab, further enhancing the lab's world leadership in this enabling technology. For DOE, as the first US accelerator project built with significant international contribution, PIP-II represents a new paradigm for executing accelerator projects. And for our international partners, PIP-II exemplifies the true global nature of particle physics, with the US an indispensable partner, and provides a rare opportunity for all involved to expand their expertise to build a highly capable instrument benefiting the global scientific community. Our path will be arduous, and we will need your continued support along the way. But we are up to the task. With your outstanding support, extraordinary partners, and a truly amazing project team, Mr. Undersecretary, we will deliver PIP-II on time and on budget. Thank you so much.